Good evening, I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. It will be the Prime Minister's 71st birthday and the BJP has plans, big plans in fact. Let's bring up our big political focus on the program this evening. As we approach the Prime Minister's 71st birthday, the BJP is launching a SEVA and Samarpan program that is personally being overseen by the BJP President JP Nadda. Part of the plans, the very ambitious plans, include record vaccination programs. At least two states, Bihar and Madhya Pradesh, are among those who are going to be delivering or going to be trying to deliver record vaccinations as the Prime Minister turns 71. Now remember, this campaign by the BJP is also to mark an important milestone for the Prime Minister as administrator, and part of the plans include 5 crore thank you postcards and 14 crore ration bags. Now, Modi has always been the message as far as the BJP is concerned, but on the program today, we look at brand Modi and the cult of personality in contemporary politics. That's our focus on the program today. What does this say about the BJP never missing a political moment? Booths across the country are going to be mobilized, including, of course, in that key state of Uttar Pradesh. Let's bring up our panelists as we look at this big, ambitious political plan by the party. Tavleen Singh, who had an acerbic column on this subject in the Indian Express, veteran journalist, is with us. Sandip, Ghose, policy commentator, supporter of the Prime Minister, is with us as well. We're also joined by Sanjay Kumarji of the CSDS, well-known psephologist and political analyst. Sumanth, Raman joining us from Chennai, political analyst, and Gopal Krishna Agarwal, leader of the BJP, is with us as well. Gopalji, I'll start with you. Some of the plans are very, very noble. Record vaccinations, any reason that gets them done is a great thing. Vaccination numbers have improved dramatically as well in the last few weeks in particular. But some might ask why it has to be connected to the Prime Minister's own birthday, own personality. Some might even say this is exactly what the BJP did not like about the Congress, about the Gandhis in particular. What is the thinking behind the Seva and Samarpan program being built around Narendra Modi's birthday?
One thing I would like to tell you is that because and there is a lot of debate on this, that Seva and Samarpan program is being launched at the time of Prime Minister Modiji's birthday. But we have been doing all these activities continuously. We did Seva or Sangathan. We did at every level. I have been participating in everywhere. Ashirwad Yatra. All these activities together for many months and together have been initiated to connect with the people, identify people, those who are those who are eligible with the particular beneficiary schemes of the government, and connect them. This is a continuous process, and various, whether it is, I told you, Jan Ashirwad Yatra, Seva Sangathan, or COVID issues, and continuously we are doing. Even on the ration issues, not only this, we had been asked, every leader of the party was asked to go to the ration shops in his locality and just sit and stay outside and see that people are being properly treated, they are getting their rations, they have no problem, talk to them, initiate. So this is a continuous process that BJP under Nadda ji has taken a big initiative, connect to the people, identify beneficiaries, help them to connect to the government schemes, and then promote those schemes. This way, this is the main, and we take various occasions for it. Now there is an important occasion because Shri Narendra Modi ji is an inspiring figure for all of us. He is an inspiring figure for the nation, but particularly for BJP workers, etc. Whatever is connected with his name, it inspires us for working for this. We are taking it as an inspiration to connect to the people.
So you're saying that these are activities that are conducted by the party at other moments as well, and this is one more occasion where you're doing this, correct?
Yeah, same 25th September is Deen Dayalji's Remembrance Day. That day also we are taking various activities. Plantation is being taken. Water conservation activities are taken on various. Even Shama Prasad Mukherjee's birthday. All these activities. And if you look into other aspects also, why we have a Hindi Divas, why we have Environmental Day. All these are just to give fillip and focus people, make
Okay.
focus and inspire them to work with the
Yeah.
targeted delivery.
Okay. Tavleen, let me get your response to this. Of course, we read your column in the Indian Express and you were quite scathingly critical. But let's look at it another way. One debate could be, oh, this is the Congressification of the BJP. They're becoming more and more personality cult oriented. Another way of looking at it is that the BJP under Modi and Shah never miss a political moment, that this is a way to galvanize the cadres, the party workers, by getting crores of party workers to get involved in this postcard campaign. Why should we judge a party for being 24/7 political, especially if it doesn't involve taxpayer money? If it involved taxpayer money, I could imagine there being a different sort of debate. What is the precise problem with what the BJP is doing?
I have two problems with it. One, at the height of the second wave, we didn't even see the RSS workers. It was gurdwaras and ordinary people helping out, etc. And I actually wrote about that, and they got very angry and they said, no, we're doing a lot. But in fact, the truth is that the BJP workers, the RSS was missing. And actually, if truth be told, for the time, there were about 10 days in which we didn't see the Prime Minister or the Home Minister. And there was that terrible feeling of the country being on autopilot, if you remember. So, I wish that they had done this more consistently then when it was really needed. My second problem is that I believe that in a democracy, you elect a leader to do these things. We don't have to thank him because that is what he is here to do. He is supposed to be in charge of making sure that no one goes hungry, that everyone has vaccinations, that, Biden is making sure, he goes on television every day to make sure that people get their vaccinations. There is no program in America saying, thank you, Biden. Now, this kind of program, it fits in with totalitarian countries where a personality cult is built around, say, Kim Il Sung or Kim Il Jong or whatever his name is, or Xi Jinping or Putin. I don't think it's the right thing for anybody to do in a democracy. The only other time I've seen it was when Indira Gandhi did it during the emergency, and you saw what happened with that. When in the end she lost her own seat. So I actually find it very puzzling that the RSS, which has always been against this kind of personality cult, which has openly opposed Indira Gandhi building a personality cult, is now just sitting back and watching. These things, you're doing good things. Why should we be thanking the Prime Minister for something he's been elected to do?
But let me just ask you: is there a difference between the party and the government? So I would take your comment on the sort of totalitarianism dimension if this were the government. As I'm understanding it, it is the party. Do you see? Of course, there's a cult of personality at the heart of it, no question. But do you see, a distinction between those two?
I don't think anybody in the BJP would be doing all this without complete approval of the Prime Minister's office.
Okay, let me get a brief response from Gopal Krishna Agarwal, and then I'll come to Sanjay Kumar. How do you respond to the fact that the parallels are in some ways with Indira Gandhi, that this is the kind of personality cult politics that the Congress was known for, and that, some might say, Gopalji, that this is the Congressification of the BJP?
No, but when Narendra Modi ji is a brand, we are already seeing him as an inspiring figure for the country. If his popularity rating is 70%, it is not that BJP workers are made that. It is the people of the country who support him. And if you look into the whole working of Prime Minister Modi and the party over last 7 years, is that I would like to very categorically say that we have always set up target and tried to achieve those targets, whether it is Jandan account or whether it is toilets in the village, whether it is Ayushman Bharat scheme, all schemes, etc., or Ujjwala Yojana, they are targeted driven, because I have been working with Modiji and I find that he creates a matrix of accountability, create a
Okay.
matrix of accountability and then try to achieve that. That gives more focus. If Amit Shah ji asked us that we should have 11 crore membership in our party and we crossed it to 15 crore, that gives a sense of achievement and that gives a focus. So what is wrong? You have rightly pointed, Barkha ji, that it is not the government which is doing. Otherwise, what the party will do now? Just sit and then just clap and other thing. The party has, we have 18 crore members. We have such a strong organization. We need to give work to har haath. Deen Dayal ji used to say, har haath ko kaam. Party 18 crore
Okay.
people, we have to continuously
Okay.
give them work and give them positive energy and
I,
positive work.
I, I do think that it is a smart way to keep the cadre perennially energized, but it is equally true that it is built around a personality. That the BJP today is Mr. Modi, and that is what we are looking at. And Sanjay, if I can get you to respond as someone who looks at the data and the numbers quite often, the Prime Minister did receive a knock in ratings right after the second wave that Tavleen referenced, but those agencies also show a kind of pickup, a bounce back as time has passed and there's been distance from the trauma of the second wave. That's the first point. The second point, I think this avatar of the BJP does probably accept and reconcile itself to the fact that Modi is the message, and perhaps the organization of this program around his birthday is another acknowledgement of that. How do you see this playing out politically, Sanjay Kumar?
See, we are all talking about decline in Modi's popularity. Yes, when the second wave of COVID was on its peak, and after that there were surveys which indicated that Prime Minister Modi's popularity was on the decline. After that, I think it has stabilized. It has also started picking up. And even when Prime Minister Modi's popularity went on the decline, I did not see those figures somewhere close to BJP losing in any elections. BJP losing election, even if it were held, at this point of time. So yes, Modi's popularity declined a little bit, but I think it has halted. And if you compare Prime Minister Modi, what goes to the advantage of Prime Minister Modi is that there is no other opposition leader among the opposition party to challenge him. So this whole exercise, which is being done on the occasion of his 71st birthday on the 17th of September, I think the BJP is trying to send out a message loud and clear to the people of this country. This is the man. This is the man who is working for the people of this country, and that is why this thank you messages. Yes, but I do agree with Tavleen ji that why this thank you message for a man, for an individual, why it should not be for the government, why this is being personalized around one person. And also if a vaccination drive is being organized on 17th of September, so the problem is on the 17th of September we would come up with a lot of data that 1 crore people were vaccinated, but look at the data on the 16th, look at the data on the 18th, what happened on 16th and 18th. So there is an unevenness. So what happens is that my own sense is that the regular work of the government somehow would get distracted. If I know that this is the celebration by the political party, but is it can we really distinguish between the
The party
government
and
and
the
the party?
government.
It's very
Fair
difficult.
enough.
It's very
But
difficult
do
to
you but do you
distinguish. You
but
can't
do
say
you
that
think
it is the party
yeah.
which is celebrating and the government is keeping away from all these celebrations.
But Sanjay ji, briefly before I come to Sumanth and Sandeep, if the Congress had done this, we would have said this is sycophancy around one family. Does Mr. Modi, in a way, not get criticized the same way because he's not a dynast? I'm talking about political consequences. Like, is that the defining? Because imagine if this was being done around, let's say, Sonia Gandhi's birthday, what everybody would have said.
No, you have already given the answer. The question already had the answer. Yes, if it was organized around Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi, then the story would have been look at the Gandhi family. The Congress cannot overcome this hangover of Gandhi family. But if it is about Modi, this gets justified because he is one of the most popular leader. We have also seen the rating, like he being the popular leader among various world leaders. So there is a comparison. You can compare what is happening in BJP, what's happening in the Congress also. But the only
Yeah.
difference is that if it is happening with Modi, when Modi is at the peak and BJP is the party which is so dominant, people don't ask questions. People means it's seen as acceptable. But if tomorrow, if there is the thing changes,
Yeah.
I think the lens would be different and people would start getting a different sense.
So, Suman, the argument then would be, if you continue to be electorally successful, you will not be judged by an absolute barometer. The BJP would, of course, argue, as Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal just has, is that these are not activities specifically tied to the birthday. They occur many times through the year, even otherwise. But the cult of personality is now very much a truth of the BJP's politics.
Yeah, Barkha, I see two very important reasons why this is being done. And one, of course, is what everybody has already said, the obvious reason that, the cult of around the Prime Minister has to be built. But there's also a message going out to the rest of the leaders in the BJP telling them in very clear terms, there is only one boss. And nobody else really matters at this point of time. And all hail the leader. So I think that there are multiple messages here, but the BJP, and I think Tavleen ji put it very well, the RSS in particular, how is it allowing a cult to be built around the Prime Minister when its entire history where it has spoken out about a collective leadership, about the ideology being prevalent, and about how a cult or one individual should not be worshipped or exalted beyond the stage, and now that all that is happening. But in the long run,
Yeah. Sorry, Sumanth,
that is getting more. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Go ahead.
In the longer term, for the BJP to become a party that is seen to be, effectively riding on the coattails, people are voting for Mr. Modi, but incidentally, the symbol happens to be a lotus, and the party happens to be BJP, which is what is really happening, and that is why you see the problem significantly when the state elections are held, where the question is raised, and then you see the reverses that the BJP has had consistently in the last couple of years, where if Mr. Modi is not on the ticket, the BJP more often than not tends to struggle at the state election. So this cult, maybe in the short run, may help the BJP at the national level, but in the long run, it weakens any political party over a period of time. You then need another cult-like status leader to succeed Mr. Modi. Otherwise, the penny drops at that point.
Well, that is exactly what is happening in states. In fact, where the BJP is defeated, you do have a strong leader, and that is where I think the Congress is struggling. But Sandip, there was a lot of applause, for example, when the Gandhi name was removed and Dhyan Chand, the hockey player's legend, was reinstated in a major sporting award. But many people at that point, pointed out to the stadium in Ahmedabad that is named after the Prime Minister and so on. So I will come back to my original question. Does the BJP run the danger of being compared too much to exactly the Congress that it has criticized? Sandip, you're on mute.
Barkha, as everyone said so far, these questions get asked only when you're on a decline. And when you're on an upswing, everything is kind of overlooked or cautious. And if it was a situation like when you get into a Congress sort of a situation when they're down in the dumps, yet they're very conscious about, projecting the Gandhis right at the top, those questions get asked. So right now, Mr. Modi will be immune to that kind of questioning. But there is no denying what everybody has said. And since you repeatedly introduced me as Mr. Modi's supporter, I would say I have a clear dissonance with this kind of a personality cult, because that's not the image with which I would associate the Prime Minister or the Mr. Modi, whom I admire. So I will mention that reservation. And then coming on to a couple of other points, I do not want to link this with either the ratings going down or ratings going up. Okay, as you said at the beginning, every politician and every prime minister is a brand, and if you don't have to advertise or market yourself when the ratings are up, then a Hindustan Unilever would not be spending in a single penny on marketing. So you have to constantly reinvent the brand. Go ahead, and irrespective of whether you're up or down, because I do not link that to the question is the mode it is being done, this repackaging or remarketing. There we have obviously a point of difference, and whether it works or whether it in the long run it doesn't work, that only the electorate and people will say.
But if you see it as a marketing exercise and you think that's legitimate, briefly, why are you uncomfortable with it? And then I want to go to Gopalji and Tavleen. Why are you uncomfortable with it? As a Modi supporter, why are you uncomfortable?
It's a kind of like this. Let me give you again, since I started with marketing, let me give you a marketing example. Hindustan Lever always made Lux as the soap for film stars, but it was never a film star. So the film stars constantly went on changing. Whereas, let's say, some other company took only Amitabh Bachchan. So when Amitabh Bachchan gets taken off, the brand drops. Okay, so that's how you reinvent the brand. And so therefore putting it. But my two-penny analysis, Barkha, apart from this whole energizing, etc., there are also internal dynamics within BJP, which Sumanth has very rightly touched upon. There are places where you probably need to reassert that Mr. Modi is the supremo, nobody else is there. And to Mr. Sumanth, and I think it's Tavleen's question, why is the RSS allowing it? There are times when you say you cannot make changes. Like today, assuming without admitting, Gopalji will be very angry with me that if he say there is a rift between Yogi and Modiji. Now, can Modiji afford to change Yogi Adityanath like he made the change in Gujarat? He cannot. Okay, there's something might play on. So RSS also doesn't have an option.
That's an interesting point. Let me take that to Gopalji. Gopalji, very interesting week, a week in which, the Gujarat chief minister was changed very abruptly, very dramatically. As always, nobody outside of a very small circle within the BJP had a clue who it would be or that it would happen at all. But Yogi Adityanath ended up being somebody who grabbed the headlines for one or the other reasons. Now, the question is this: do you see this as a reassertion of A, Modi's supremacy, B, the marketing of brand Modi? Of course, it's a political activity. And as you said, parties do perform political activities. But do you fear that one day you will be compared to, a parallel will be drawn with the Gandhis? The exact cult of personality that the BJP leadership has opposed historically?
No, Barkha, I would like to mention 2 points here, which are the ground reality we have to all accept, then we can analyze what is being done. One thing is, Modiji's BJP is riding on higher popularity of Modiji. We should not deny this is the ground fact that Modi's popularity is higher than BJP. So this is the ground reality, and we all know and accept it. There is no denying on this or no moving away from this. And second is, what is more important, and how can you compare with any Gandhi currently, Sonia or anything, is that he has delivered on the numbers. That's the most important. If we go around and only creating brand like Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi, just advertising, etc., every chance that it will backfire. But here we are very confident that he has been delivering on numbers, targeted numbers, and I can list out the number schemes where he has delivered, government has delivered on numbers, and this is because of his personality and his push on those. I can talk about the 25 Pragati meetings, which nobody knows. The way he has
But
even
Gopalji,
so
Gopalji.
let me finish. But just
Okay.
so the thing is, we are very confident as a party that we have a schemes where Modi ji has delivered. Therefore, we have to. It's a exercise of communicating to the people about the work and connecting the people to the schemes. And it is a win-win situation for the party, for the government, and for the people. And
So far,
why it is a
so
harm?
good.
Because we take it. Communication is an important part of
I
the
agree.
political
I agree with
activity.
that. I have just one question for you and the same question for Sanjay after that. And the question is this: when one person is the pivot, is the fulcrum, and he gets all the credit and he delivers the numbers, what happens when things start going wrong? What I mean by that is, for example, the second wave. If that anger had sustained, then if today you're talking about the extraordinary vaccination and the day the vaccines are, on his birthday record vaccination numbers are being sought to achieve, he will get the credit. It's his photo on the certificate even. But let's say something is to go terribly wrong. Let's say there's going to be a terrible third wave and the government is criticized for its handling, then the fault will also all be his. Isn't it a high risk strategy, Gopal?
Think over the 7 years record, if we see every scheme he has been delivering on the numbers, and that is his focus. He is creating accountability even for bureaucrats and even the ministers and all these things. So surely there is a risk, but if we are not able to take a risk and we don't know why we will win elections, why we will go to the people, we are confident that he is delivering, his target is delivery, he has delivered and he will continue delivery. And Tavleen ji and other were talking about RSS. RSS important part. I have been working in RSS. There was Ek Chalaka Nivartitva. Our Sangh Chalak is the only person in RSS who is an icon for everybody. Golwalkar ji, Dr. Edgewar ji, then Balasaheb Devraj ji. A person till he is occupying the post and he is the leading, we all have to understand. Therefore, you will see a discipline also. That doesn't mean that he will continue. We revere Guruji, we revere Deen Dayal ji,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean that new people cannot come. Atalji is a great figure for us. So there will be continuously, it's a strong organizational base which accepts anybody as a leader. Today, Modi ji is more popular. We have accepted him the leader. He is delivering. So these all ground realities are there for us to, and we are using it as a political field of communication.
I understand, but I just want to take this question, two questions to Sanjay ji. Sanjay ji, the question is this: Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar. I think Gopal ji is right. As long as a political leader delivers the elections, the prism through which we see them is completely different. Once they start losing elections, ex post facto, we start saying maybe it was this, maybe it was that. The question is this: the second wave, the Prime Minister's face on that vaccine certificate is part and parcel of this personality cult. But the opposition, instead of opposing it, imitated it, right? We had two major state chief ministers also moving to do the same thing in the east of the country in particular. My question is, how high risk do you think this strategy is? Because if you look at Gujarat, for example, Gujarat's handling of the pandemic is seen to be one reason that Vijay Rupani was replaced. But it is Modi Shah's home state. And one theory was that this was the central leadership distancing themselves from those failures. If politics of the BJP is built entirely around Modi, every time there's a failure, will it be counted as Modi's failure?
Barkha, in theory, this is a high risk game, because if somebody takes the credit of a good work, all the blame goes to the same person or same organization if the work goes wrong. But I think the credibility factor, the credibility capital with Prime Minister Modi is so high that when something goes good, when the government does something good, the credit which he goes is disproportionately very, very high. And if something goes wrong, the discredit which people are going to attach to Prime Minister Modi is disproportionately low. This is an advantage that Prime Minister Modi has, and this is the advantage because he has been able to establish a credibility among the people. He's an honest, he's a hard-working man. I'm saying these are the opinions of the cross-section of people of this country. If something goes wrong, yes, there is there is a feeling that things have gone wrong, but the intentions have not been bad. The intentions have been right. That
Is
is
that
why.
why? Is that why you think that even the anger of the second wave has not, in a way, stuck to him, Sanjay?
Yes, absolutely. When the second wave was on its peak, that was the time people felt unhappy. And I think more than the suffering of the people, what made people more angry was his disappearance. He never appeared on the national. There was no connect. He
Yeah.
normally has the habit of connecting with the people through mass media. There was no connect. I think that made people more angry or unhappy compared to the sufferings which they had faced on the ground. But it's disappeared quickly because of the capital, the credibility capital which Prime Minister Modi has working during last say 5 6 years.
So, Sumanth, let me bring you into the conversation now. Tavleen used the word, she said it's a kind of totalitarian, autocratic culture. And the last parallel she could draw was, I'm just going to put you on mute till I ask my question. The last parallel she could draw was to Indira Gandhi. There are many observers who believe that actually the Prime Minister's working style is closest to that of Mrs. Gandhi. Is that how you see it? And what does this do to opposition politics? What does this do to parties who are trying to fight Narendra Modi? One theory is that even in the states, what the chief ministers are now trying, including in the state that you are in, is to have a very clear personality around which politics is then built. Sumanth?
Yeah. In my state, we've always been around politics of personality and cult. So we are seeing that reflected at the national stage. And yes, Barkha, let's understand today we are an electoral autocracy. We are not a liberal democracy. And I think that stopped at least about 3 4 years ago, if not earlier. So the point is, Mr. Modi, seems to be to me to have a Teflon coating. Nothing sticks on him. Whatever happens, you take, and I think the media has a very, very important role to play. Take the second wave. At the height of the second wave, there were so many debates going on national television and various regional channels about how the state governments had messed up, about how they asked for vaccines first to procure directly and then they couldn't place orders and so on. The net effect of that was that maybe the blame has to be shared by everybody, and it's not fair to blame this one man alone. So the power that the BJP has through its control of the media now enables it to deflect anything from actually sticking to the Prime Minister. Now, as you rightly said, the disastrous handling of COVID in Gujarat by many accounts is now Mr. Vijay Rupani's fault. And for that, he has paid the price. It's got nothing to do with the Prime Minister or Mr. Amit Shah. So I think that this is the narrative that goes out. When an election is won, you remember in the Congress, this is exactly how it used to work. Any electoral success, anything good happening in the Congress is because of the Gandhi family. And anything that goes wrong is because of the leaders at the state level. We are seeing.
I know, and also you had a Manmohan Singh to blame. Yeah, I remember being a reporter who used to cover the UPA government, and you would constantly, anything that was a popular issue, they would say Sonia Gandhi has expressed her disquiet over this issue, the rise in fuel prices and so on, and then it would be rolled back and it would be seen as Sonia Gandhi's intervention. So this is this is politics. It's not savory, but it is politics.
That was deliberate, yes. Barkha. It was done to deflect.
Yes.
and make Dr. Manmohan Singh in some ways a fall guy for some of the unpopular decisions that were taken.
So here's my question, and we have to start taking last comments now. So Sandip, Sanjay, and then Gopalji can get the last word. Sandip, the BJP doesn't have a dual power sharing arrangement. There is no Manmohan Singh to transfer the responsibility for anything going wrong. There are state chief ministers maybe, but that's kind of it. So how do you actually see this playing out? I think Sumanth is perceptive in saying that some of the transference of responsibility for the second wave is already at the doors of the state governments.
See, Barkha, where you people compare Mr. Modi with Indira Gandhi, where Mr. Modi scores about everybody else, he comes through as a courageous leader, as a change agent You always, it's like walking on
Yeah,
a
but
tightrope.
if
No,
you had
no,
lived in the 70s, at the
no, I
time
don't
of the
live in the
creation of
70s.
Bangladesh, Indira Gandhi was applauded even by
No,
Vajpayee
no, that's
as a leader
fine.
of courage.
But he has taken the kind of risk. What you're talking about is failing. He is the person who shows that he's doing a tightrope walk over a precipice, and he is constantly aware that he might be falling tomorrow. But that's what he is, the courage he takes, and I think that's what differentiates him from all his other people. Today very few people will be able to rise up and challenge Mr. Modi, because they know that they don't have that courage, whether you agree or not, to take a demonetization, to take a GST. These are things he does, and with every risk of failure. Okay, and so what he has done, you and I have criticized on your show his not appearing during the second wave, first phase, but it has played out to his advantage. And today, as you will go on seeing data coming in, India will fare pretty well with the rest of the world in terms of vaccination, everything. Today,
Yes,
they're saying,
now
so yeah, fine. So
I
that's,
grant
yeah.
that success in the
So
vaccinations
therefore,
now. Yeah, but it
therefore,
wasn't
that
there
was
in the second wave,
no,
right?
we had prejudged in the month of June. Also, we were prejudging that okay, whether they'll be able to cross the 10 crore barrier in 13 days. Now, this in September they're done. So these are planning which he has done. He's taking the
Right.
risk ultimately at his cost. So,
Yeah.
and the one small thing about the vaccination certificate, I think we are doing making too much out of it. Suman will agree. He tweeted on Sunday that Tamil Nadu did its highest number of vaccinations on Sunday. And do you know how that happened? Because I have seen in my place, small town, there were vaccination camps all over with Karunanidhi and Stalin's pictures, and people
Sure.
were being queued up. So you need
No,
that
no,
kind of.
I said you missed that point that the non-BJP leaders also did the same. That is my exact point.
You
That
have to do that,
actually, personality has come to be the heart of the politics of every party. That's exactly what I'm saying.
If,
But
if
here's,
Biden, if
yeah.
Biden is today not able to inspire people, it's again the personality
No,
factor.
but the Americans are also, and I've written this in the Washington Post, are bizarre to not mandate vaccines, and they have now moved towards almost doing it. Sanjay Kumar, here's the question for you: how much can personality alone deliver results? Because in the end, you need those cadres. It is the Congress, for example, suffers twofold: one, their personalities are not accepted by the voters; two, their cadres don't exist. In a number of states, especially in the heartland. So, how much weightage would you give to the impact of personality, and how much to cadres? Could Mr. Modi, for example, deliver an election result without the army of RSS of volunteers that have always powered his wins?
No, at this moment, the current state of politics in India, it is the personality has become very important. It's not only applicable to BJP, it applies to various regional leaders as well. Look at how Mamata Banerjee single-handedly won the elections for her own party. We can keep taking name. Look at, we were discussing about Tamil Nadu, how Stalin won the elections for his own party. So it is Prime Minister Modi winning elections for BJP. We did some surveys in 2014 and 2019 elections to figure out what could be Prime Minister Modi's contribution to BJP's vote share. And our rough estimate is that of every 10 votes which BJP gets, 3 vote comes by in the name of Prime Minister Modi, which is to say 1/3 of BJP's vote is entirely the vote which has been brought by Prime Minister Modi to the party, which is a huge advantage for a party like BJP. So this is an in thing. It is happening not only in BJP but in various regional parties also. So leadership has become very important in Indian politics at this moment.
Very interesting. Gopalji, very briefly to you, when the stadium in Ahmedabad was, for example, sort of cast in Modi's name, a lot of people thought that if the Prime Minister were to have come forward and said, I'm not comfortable with this, or for example, even now, if he were to come forth and say about these birthday celebrations that I don't want my name on these bags, do you not think it would be even more politically effective than building this around his name and his image?
No, I think when people are voting for Modi, and the ground reality we cannot deny, people are voting for Modi ji. We are moving at the ground, we know, understand, and therefore our connect with the people only shows that we are connected, and this is the way people want us to work. Party is taking from opinion from the people and working on that line. That's important in politics. You have to win elections. One point also I would like to say is politics and leadership is only spending who has the courage to spend political capital. Unless you spend your political capital, you don't have the ability to lead. If you look into the Modiji's history, whether it was in Gujarat, but I only talk of when he was the prime minister for last 7 years. Farm laws, he has spent his capital. Labor law reforms, there are every chance that there will be strong movement against even some of our organizations may come up. But he is ready to spend because he is working on convictions. Demonetization, some people may criticize, but he has spent his political capital. Vaccination, he committed that we will deliver this amount, numbers, which everybody was, even nobody was sure, but he committed that I will deliver, and he is now moving to deliver. GST, virtual assessment, even during the second wave, some states where everybody was putting that oxygen, central government, though we know that these issues are for the state government to maintain proper hospitals, oxygen supply, etc. But Modi ji did not deny that I will supply oxygen. He continued, our government continued to commit that we take responsibility for supplying oxygen, and we did. So this is the political spending and this is leadership, and that we accept, and this is the reality, and therefore we will.
I have to close there, but I find your phrase actually quite interesting and apt. The willingness to spend political capital, I think, does capture the BJP, some would say, very high-risk strategy, but one that has clearly worked for Narendra Modi thus far, mostly, and even states where the BJP has lost has been with as strong a personality countering the Prime Minister. Sumanth, are you trying to get a sentence in there? Because I really literally have to close, so I'll allow you one sentence. Yeah. Sumanth?
On mute.
I'm on mute. Okay. Just one sentence. The one of the hallmarks of a leader is one who can accept blame when things go wrong. That is actually true courage as well. In 7 years, I have not heard a single occasion of the Prime Minister actually saying, "Look, we could have done something better." Something like demonetization.
But can you think of any other politician who has accepted blame from another party? I agree, as a citizen, I'd love it if politicians came out and said, but off the top of my head, I was trying to remember any major politician who has come out and said, "Ye humse galti ho gayi," and I actually can't think of, maybe I'm wrong, maybe somebody else has a better memory than me.
So I think it's also part of, our public perception. Anybody who even accepts any kind of error is seen to be a weak leader. So you need to be strong, which means you can do nothing wrong, which is not actually true.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. But I think what is certain is that there is now a cult of personality around which all the other building blocks of politics have to be, organized. And I think we all agree on that. And at the moment, certainly nobody is doing that more effectively, more successfully than Narendra Modi, enabled by Amit Shah. And like I said, states where they are being taken on are by strong, Sumanth, to your point, strong leaders, and that is how politics is shifting. Leaving it there, Gopal, Krishna, Agarwal of the BJP, Sanjay, Kumar of CSDS, Sumanth, Raman, independent political analyst, Sandip, Ghose, columnist and commentator. Thank you, Tavleen. Sorry we lost you early on. We don't know what happened to your connection. Hope to have you back again with us soon. To our audience, see you tomorrow same time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
Thank you.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.